Hi everybody, my name is Katie Gigure. I am a certified pediatric sleep consultant on Kelly Murray's Sleep Squad. Today I wanted to hop on and talk to you guys about the 2-year sleep regression. Wanted to talk to you guys about this because I am currently living it with my daughter. She is 22 months old, so this regression can happen anywhere near that 2-year age mark. So as I record this, I am watching my daughter roll around on the monitor. It's been taking her a little bit longer to fall asleep at nap time during this regression. So I want to talk a little bit about regressions first. Regression is, whenever you see your child's sleep patterns change, for the worse. They've gotten a little worse than better. Sleep regressions can happen at all sorts of ages. The most common one that people have heard about is the 4-month sleep regression. So when babies turn 4 months, their sleep cycles mature from infant sleep cycles to more adult sleep cycles like ours. So it's a lot of change. They're waking up more often in the middle of the night, and it's really hard for them, especially if they don't have those independent sleep skills. The 2-year sleep regression can happen for a few different reasons, and I'm going to go through each of these. Now, the most common cause for the 2-year sleep regression is a developmental leap. And a developmental leap is just, your baby or toddler is learning something new, and it's a lot of change for them, and it can just be really distracting in other parts of their life, such as when they sleep. So many toddlers at this age, their language skills are just exploding. They're figuring out that, what they say can affect what happens. They're also super excited because they're starting to put a few words together to say sentences. So my daughter has started doing 2-3 words together in short mini sentences, and it's just super exciting for them. They want to use these new skills all the time. And so, when you put them in the crib, they're not quite ready to go to sleep yet sometimes, and they want to practice their new skills. So a lot of the times I'll see my daughter, she'll just be laying in bed, rolling around, just making noises, saying words out loud. It's just really exciting to them. This can definitely disrupt their sleep patterns. So, if it's taking them longer to fall asleep, they might not be getting as much sleep as they should, which can make them overtired, which, with a toddler, that's not ideal because they're so emotional at this stage. They are still trying to also learn how to control their emotions. It's really hard for them to regulate, so they're practicing this right now. They're super impulsive. It can be really hard for them to settle down for sleep when they're having all these emotions running through and having a hard time getting them out in a healthy way. Very, very distracting for sleep. Another thing that can happen, they can start testing their parents' boundaries. So we see this a lot with our toddler clients. This can look like, the baby or toddler getting out of bed after the parents have laid them down in their bed and told them that they need to stay in their bed. They're testing you. They're pushing you to see what they can get away with. We work with a lot of families that have this issue, and it's really just about, making the boundaries firm, making sure that they know the rules that they need to follow, keeping it very black and white so it's not confusing to them, so they know exactly what's expected of them. And then as you, the parent, if you guys just hold the boundary, keep the boundaries firm, hopefully this will lessen the amount of time that you're dealing with this issue. Separation anxiety and new fears are also another thing that can cause the 2-year sleep regression. Their imagination is forming at this age. So before now, they didn't have an imagination. So, babies, they're not afraid of the dark. That is something that develops once they're a little older, and they can have fears, these thoughts that they think something's bad is going to happen to them. And so it's important for us, to honor these feelings that they're feeling. They're allowed to be afraid. They're allowed to be scared. They're They're humans just like we are. We really just don't want to, take that fear away and take them out of a situation, because that's only solidifying the issue. So let's say that they're afraid to be by themselves, and then you let them sleep in your bed. Well, it's going to be really hard to get them to sleep in their own bed after that. So we want to talk to your child about the situation and about how they're feeling. So, acknowledging that they're scared and, that it's okay. Just coming up with different strategies to help your child cope with these emotions. So depending on your child, some things may work better than others. We have a huge long list of strategies you can use for anxiety on our blog, and I'll see if I can link it down below. There's so many things that you can do to help teach them how to regulate their emotions, their fears at night. And so, if you practice these things with them, it'll help a lot with, if they wake up in the middle of the night, them being able to put themselves back to sleep, which is a great skill to have, even during the day. If they're upset or scared of something, it's really good for them to have these strategies in place that they can use so they can, take a deep breath and move on from the situation. Another thing that can disrupt sleep a little bit are the 2-year molars that come in, but that typically doesn't happen longer than a couple days. So it's really the days that the molars are like erupting through the gums. That can be very, very uncomfortable for your child. As long as you're okay with, administering some pain meds to your child per your doctor's recommendations, that can definitely help them feel a little bit more comfortable. But teeth pain should not affect sleep for more than a couple days. If you're seeing disrupted sleep for longer than that, it's probably something else. So just keep that in mind. Just because they're getting teeth doesn't mean that they can't sleep. They might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not going to affect them for, weeks on end. Another thing that can happen, they learn how to climb out of their crib. This is a huge one. So once they start figuring out how to climb out of their crib, we definitely need to get them out of the crib if there isn't another option. So a lot of people have cribs where you can lower it down all the way to the floor, the crib mattress. So the crib mattress is still enclosed in the crib, so they can't climb higher. If there's too much height, they're not going to be able to get over the crib. So if there's really no way of keeping your baby in the crib, sometimes we suggest a pack and play. A pack and play is harder for them to get their feet to scale up the side because it's mesh. And so that's definitely an option. But if that's not an option, we need to get them out of the crib as soon as possible because we don't want them to hurt themselves. Now, if this happens on the younger age, like 2.5, that does happen sometimes. But what we need to do then is, once you take the crib out of the room and you have them in a toddler bed, we want to make sure that their room is completely baby-proofed. It's, if they're able to get out of their room, you want to make sure that they are not able to hurt themselves in the middle of the night. That's huge. So that's a huge transition for them. Also, just being in a toddler bed itself is just very different for them than being in a crib. In a crib, they're kind of enclosed and it helps them make them feel safe. Once they're in that toddler bed, it's definitely more open and it can be very hard for them to transition into that. We suggest keeping them in the crib as long as you can. And then once they are ready, either they're climbing out or they have, voiced an opinion saying that they're ready for their big kid bed and, they're 3 years old or older, feel free to make that transition. But, just making sure that they have good bedtime rules so that they're staying in bed at night, so they don't get out of bed and hurt themselves or come in and get you. Hopefully they'll have a good, easy transition into just staying in their toddler bed. If none of these things are happening to your child and they're still having sleep issues, it's probably a sign that your child's sleep needs are changing. So when they were really, really little, they needed a lot of sleep. Now that they're toddlers, their sleep needs decrease. So we're looking at like 12 to 13 hours is pretty typical for toddlers. That's total sleep per 24 hours. So that means nighttime and nap time. So for example, my daughter, up until a couple months ago, she was sleeping 7 a.m. or she was waking up at 7 a.m. and going to bed at 7 p.m. With a 2.5 hour nap in the middle of the day. Well, now it's not working out that way. She's taking 11 hours at night now, and I've bumped her down to an 1.5 hour nap because those sleep needs change. And if they're getting too much nap time in the middle of the day, it can make them wake up early in the morning. So it's hard to pinpoint, even for sleep consultants. This can be a lot of trial and error. So my daughter, she's going through this 2-year sleep regression, and I thought I had figured out, what's going on. But this has been happening for a couple months now. And so I've been playing around with changing her schedule a little bit. So just making sure that they're not getting too much sleep or too little sleep at this age. If they're getting too little sleep, they could be overtired, which is just going to wake them up more. This regression can look like taking a long time to fall asleep at night. It can look like waking up multiple times in the middle of the night, or it could look like waking up super early in the morning. Sometimes this only affects naps. And sometimes it's both. So my daughter, it's really mostly affecting the nap. Because she's a good sleeper, this hasn't been terrible for us because, when she was younger, about 5 months, I sleep trained her. And ever since then, she's known how to put herself to sleep, which is great. And so every baby, or regardless of their independent sleep abilities, they're going to go through these regressions. So if your child knows how to put themselves to sleep already before they go through one of these regressions, it's going to be a lot less hard for everybody in the family. If your child does not have independent sleep skills, these regressions can be super, super exhausting for them and the parents. So we suggest, teaching your child independent sleep skills. We work with families with children of all ages. So, if your child needs some independent sleep skills, we definitely can help you out with that. And let us know, because we'd love to help you. We'd love to help make this 2-year sleep regression a little bit easier for you.